Okay, this is truly, truly incredible. Gotta share. And you know what? I want to thank everybody for really, for leaving comments that are encouraging, inspiring, edifying. There's so many of you that actually enjoy the the testimonies, the witnessing, and I tell you, I have to share. I have to share, and then to get the feedback, it's amazing. Okay, so this just happened. I was not on this trail, but I was on another trail, and I had prayed. Actually, I've been really praying specifically, and one of the prayers that I had yesterday is that the Lord would bring me somebody who didn't know him at all. Basically, I was praying for an atheist. So here I am walking, and there's this young man. And of course, I stop and I said, oh, I didn't think anybody else was here. And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, are you local? He says, oh, yeah, I go to the university. I said, oh, is that UW Florida? And he told me what the name of the university was, and I said, "Oh, okay." I said, "Well, what are you studying?" And he said that he was majoring in computer engineering, and I was like, "Whoa, oh, you got to be a brainiac!" And he laughed, and so that started the conversation. And then as I asked him a couple questions about college, then I said, it must be really nice to come out here because he was very close to the college. And he says, yeah, it's a good place to come and just, kind of have a little peace. And I said, well, it's got to be difficult. Being in college, there's got to be so many distractions. And he says, yeah, there can be. And now this guy, he didn't have like an exciting personality. He was very, very laid back. And just very and in a way maybe even monotone. He just and he kept kind of futzing with his hair and and that was okay. Because God just had me there carrying the conversation. And so and it always amazes me how God leads me in. And I don't even remember exactly how the lead in happened, but I was talking about, coming out and getting away from all the distractions in the world. And I said, one of the things that I really have is peace and joy. And I said, a lot of people can't say that because they're so distracted with this world. And I said, at one time I was trying to fill myself up, trying to find who I was, trying to fit into the mold of the world and always come up to this standard. And I said, even you go to college and I was an A student, but it just wasn't good enough. I said, I just was trying to fill something I couldn't fill. And then and until I just told him, until I found the Lord, I was just trying to be something I couldn't be for everybody else. And so that's what I told him. That's kind of where the conversation started. And he listened. And then I said, so what about you? I said, what, when you look at all of this in life, what do you think? Yeah, and it was a really odd. And he's like, whoa. He's like, well, that's quite the question. And I said, yeah, I know. I'm just kind of curious. And he said, well, I think it's about just having fun and, like really just enjoying life. And I said, oh, okay. I guess I didn't expect that, but I was like, okay. I said, so, just out of curiosity, you talk about like enjoying life. And so say you got your career and, I said, but then what? When you say enjoying life, what does that look like? And he's like, oh, well, he says, well, I guess, he's really thinking about this. He says, I guess there's a lot of layers to that. And I said, yeah, okay. But what is that? What is enjoying, like, what is the purpose of life then? You know, if it is to enjoy and everything, what becomes the purpose then? And he's looking at me, and you can tell he is thinking, because I'm thinking about it. I'm like, and he's like, and I said, well, let me just put it this way. I said, you know, like with my life, I've done it all. I've done it all. I was an athlete, I'm a nurse, and still I was empty. Still I was trying to fill something, this void. And I'm just telling you, I couldn't fill it. I couldn't fill it until I had this relationship with Jesus. And I said, and then I had peace. Then I had hope. Then I had purpose, because I understood why all of this and why I was here. And he's like, well, he said, and he's thinking again. You could tell he's really thinking. And he said, well, I will tell you this. He said, I think that, you know, and I think he was trying to say God without really admitting that there was a God. But he says, I think there's value in, you know, what you're saying, that gives us tools, and it gives us tools to live better. So I agreed with him. Of course, he's right. I mean, what he's saying is right. God gives us the tools. And I said, yeah, you're right. And you know, one of the tools that he gives us is his word. I said, his word is like a guidebook. And I said, you open it up and it guides us, and it tells us stuff like, don't go to bed angry. Love your neighbor. I said, not even love your neighbor, but love your enemy. I said, there's a scripture that says, and we know all things work for good. All things work for good, according to those who love the Lord. So you see, even when you have trials and tribulation, even when you're having a hard time, say you're having a hard day, God tells us that even that works for our good. I said, think about this. You know that family and friends will always fail you. They always will. And, you know, he's looking at me and he's like, yeah. And I'm like, because you know they will. But the thing about our relationship with Jesus is he doesn't fail us. I said, think about when you really, say, you know, you need your friend, your buddy, and you call your buddy, and guess what he says? Sorry, I'm with my girlfriend. You know, you're going to have to call back. I said, because that will happen. And then what? And then what do you do? What do you do? I said, you know, we have to have a foundation, a hope. We have to have something. And I said, for me, that's Jesus. And so then I said, can I give you something? And he's like, all right. You know, when I say that, people get kind of surprised. And so I pulled out, I had a really beautiful Steps to Christ. And I handed it to him, and I said, it's Steps to Christ. It tells you how to walk with Christ. Now, I knew he wasn't a believer, but I had to make my point. I said, you know, I'm going to tell you something. I said, I'm a missionary. And he laughed, and he said, yeah, I kind of guessed you were something like that. Hello. And I said, I want to tell you something. I said, my missionary work is the Lord brings me people. And I said, you may not believe this, but I'm going to tell you, because it's really supernatural. The Lord brings me people. Random people, but they're not random. And he chooses these people for me to go and deliver a message. And I said, you don't know this, but before I came here to this trail, in fact, yesterday I had prayed to have an encounter with someone who didn't know the Lord. And I said, what's your name? He said, Casey. I said, and here you are. I said, I know it's like really hard to wrap your head around that, and you may not believe it, but I'm telling you, I have these encounters all the time. And then I told him, and today is your day. And I said, you know, you may not know God, but God knows you. And he is showing you today who he is. And I said, and you could tell now he didn't know what to say. He just did not know. He just didn't know how to take that. I could tell he didn't know what to say. And I looked at him and I said, you know what, Casey? I said, one day you're going to take this book. Maybe not today, but maybe in the future. And you're going to open it and you're going to read it and you're going to find Jesus. You're going to find Jesus. And you're going to remember this. You're going to remember this day. And again, he's like, you could tell he just didn't know what to say. And I said, you know what? Okay, it's all good. You don't have to say anything because I get it. I mean, this is hard to wrap your head around. And I just said, you know what, Casey, you have a great walk. You have a great day. And I was on my way. But I want to say something because this is so important. I envisioned myself maybe 15 years ago when I didn't know the Lord. And if someone like me would have came up to me and said those things, there's a couple things, and gave me a book, couple things. First of all, I would have maybe thought she was a freak. She's a freak. She's crazy. She's crazy. But I couldn't deny the fact that she was there telling me that God had sent her and that God knew her, or knew me, right? That's the point I'm trying to make. And no matter what, that has impact on a person's life. Doesn't make any difference if he throws the book away, because he can't throw the encounter away. He can't throw away what I just told him. He can't. And that is the beauty of what God does. He picks the right time at the right moment to use us as vessels to deliver that message. And it is now then up to that person to do whatever they're going to do with it. And sometimes they'll respond right away. And sometimes it may take a month. Sometimes it takes years. Years. Well, we know we don't have years and years, but you know what I'm saying? So even though I may have been the freak today, and I can imagine what he's saying, the bottom line is he's going to go and tell his friends. He's going to go and tell somebody what just happened. And he's going to be talking about it, because how can you not talk about it? And that's what the Lord does. It's amazing. So put that in your brain bank and think about it for a while. All right. God bless you guys. And again, thank you for listening and commenting. And I'm really happy that these encounters encourage you too, and strengthen your walk, because it really does glorify God and reveal how much He is invested in our lives. And that's daily.